Hey, do you want to learn about bubbles? Not that kind of bubble, stupid. We're talking about economic bubbles. You know, like the housing crisis, the dot-com bubble. We're going to talk about why bubbles form, irrational decisions investors make, and tips for new and experienced investors. So stay tuned! First off, what does bubble mean? A bubble is an economic cycle characterized by rapid expansion followed by a contraction. In other words, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. And if that's not good enough for you, let's get technical. A bubble is a surge in equity prices, often more than warranted by the fundamentals and usually in a particular sector, followed by a drastic drop in prices as a massive sell-off occurs. Whoa! Here's another one! A bubble is a theory that security prices rise above their true value and will continue to do so until prices go into free fall and the bubble bursts. We're going to focus on the dot-com bubble. The dot-com bubble grew out of a combination of the presence of speculative or fad-based investing, the abundance of venture capital funding for startups, or the failure of dot-coms to turn a profit. Investors poured money into internet startups during the 1990s in the hope that those companies would one day become profitable, and many investors and venture capitalists abandoned a cautious approach for fear of not being able to cash in on the growing use of the internet. Notice the graph. So why do you think investors kept investing? Behavioral finance states that there are three factors which create irrational market behavior. Overconfidence, biased judgments, herd mentality. When investors are overconfident, they think they can beat the market. This leads to overtrading. Another symptom of overconfidence is found when investors during the tech crash kept pouring money into these new startup tech companies and hoped that they would one day become profitable. Since the money kept pouring in, the growth of these stocks skyrocketed to valuations that could not be sustained. The second irrational market behavior is biased judgments. Investors can be fooled into thinking that they have control over their investments when they do not. In the tech crash, investors saw these fad-based investments and thought that they could control their investments. They started to chase the hot funds, extrapolating the success of the tech companies. They had the confidence and the bias to think that they will continue to rise, which led to herd mentality. Herd mentality is when groups of individuals will sometimes reinforce one another into believing that some incorrect point of view is in fact correct. This was exemplified in the tech crash, when investors would follow the examples of their neighbors or whatever the media said was a good idea and made poor investments. Here's some tips. Avoid herd behavior. Don't just follow the media or the recommendations of your fellow investors. You should look for stocks that will allow you to be confident in reaching your goals. Be a satisfier instead of a maximizer. A maximizer considers every possibility in the endless pursuit of perfection, and in doing so will succumb to analysis paralysis. A satisfier uses a set criteria to make good choices, but doesn't worry about something better existing. He realizes that gaining the highest return is a fool's game.